Night falls heavy over the dirt road. Lightning cuts across the sky, and the roar of an engine echoes like a wounded beast. Marcos grips the steering wheel with trembling hands, sweat dripping down his face, his reflection hard in the rearview mirror. Behind him, flashing blue and red lights chase like hungry eyes. On the passenger seat, a bag of cash slides, carrying the weight of everything he has left. He takes a deep breath and mutters to himself, "Tonight, no one takes anything from me again." The camera closes in on his eyes, not just a fugitive, but a man at war with the world. Before the chase hits its peak, the scene freezes. The narrator whispers, "To understand how Marcos ended up here, we must go back to the day his law was broken." If you love stories filled with action, revenge, and shocking twists, hit that like button and subscribe now. It really helps us bring you more powerful movie recaps like this. 6 months earlier, the golden fields of corn stretch endlessly, yet the silence is heavier than the wind. Marcos kneels beside a broken tractor, its engine coughing its last breath. The machine that once fed his family now sits useless, another symbol of everything falling apart. Inside the modest farmhouse, stacks of unpaid bills clutter the table. His wife's worried glance meets his own. Words aren't needed. Both know the farm won't survive another season. The bank's shiny car pulls up, dust swirling behind it. Out steps Tomas, the manager, dressed too neatly for the mud around him. With a practiced smile, he lays down papers. "Just a signature, Marcos. A guarantee to keep you afloat until harvest." Marcos hesitates, his calloused hand hovering over the pen. His brother Tiago mutters, "This isn't help, it's a noose." But desperation drowns reason. Marcos signs. The deal is sealed, and so is their fate. Weeks later, the truth sharpens its claws. The harvest isn't enough, the bills keep rising, and Tomas returns, no longer the friendly banker but the executioner of their land. He sits at the kitchen table, untouched by the smell of sweat and dust. His voice is calm, rehearsed. The farm is now property of the bank. "You have until the end of the month to leave." Marcos feels his chest tighten. Tiago slams his fist against the wood. "You promised us time." Tomas only adjusts his tie, cold eyes unmoved. Promises don't pay debts. For the Roberts brothers, the message is clear. Justice wears a suit, and mercy is nothing more than a signature line. The barn that once held the tools of survival now holds strangers. Neighbors, vultures, and curious eyes crowd around tables, stacked with the remnants of the Roberts family. Old furniture, rusted tools, even the icebox his father once bragged about, all tagged with prices that cut deeper than any blade. Marcos stands rigid, his jaw locked. Beside him, Tiago mutters curses under his breath. Laughter from the crowd stings louder than the auctioneer's call. "Who'll take this fine piece of history? Sold for $50. Jennifer, a city visitor, browses with detached amusement, not realizing each item is a piece of a broken legacy. When someone jokes about how pathetic it must feel to lose everything, Marcos nearly lunges forward. It takes Tiago's grip to hold him back. That day, the farm doesn't just lose its possessions, the Roberts brothers lose their dignity. That night, silence smothers the farmhouse. The walls echo with absence. No laughter, no warmth, only the weight of failure pressing down. Marcos sits at the table, his fists clenched around a glass of cheap whiskey. Across from him, Tiago paces like a caged animal, fury burning in his eyes. "They took everything from us, Marcos. The land, the tools, our name, what's left?" Marcos stares at the floor, the reflection of flames from the old stove dancing across his tired face. Then, slowly, he looks up at his brother. "What's left is us. And I swear, Tiago, we won't go down silent. If the law has failed us, we'll write our own." Tiago stops pacing. The two brothers lock eyes. No more hesitation, no more excuses. In that moment, a vow is born. Not of survival, but of vengeance. Inside the dimly lit barn, the smell of oil and dust hangs heavy. Tiago kicks an old bucket across the floor, the metallic clang echoing like a war drum. Better to see it all burn than watch them steal it piece by piece. Marcos leans against a wooden beam, silent at first, his eyes tracing the shadows of the tools once used to build their future. His father's photograph hangs crooked on the wall, watching, judging. Finally, Marcos speaks, his voice low but sharp. "You're right. If they think they can bury us alive, we'll show them what ashes look like." Tiago turns, startled, searching his brother's face for doubt. But there is none. Only fire, waiting to be set free. Here the idea is reckless, criminal, yet in their hearts it feels like justice. The night will not end quietly. Midnight. The sky is black, the wind restless. Marcos and Tiago stand at the edge of their cornfields, cans of fuel in hand. The dry stalks crackle underfoot, waiting like tinder for judgment. Tiago's hand shakes as he strikes the match. For a moment, the flame flickers, small, fragile. But when it meets the earth, fire erupts, racing through the fields like a wild beast unleashed. The blaze devours everything: the barn, the crops, the memory of generations. The brothers watch in silence, their faces lit by the inferno. Marcos whispers, "Better this way. Ours in fire, not theirs in chains." From miles away, sirens wail. The fire is no longer just destruction, it is a message. By morning, headlines will scream, "Farmers turn outlaws, the Roberts brothers strike back." The morning sun rises over blackened ruins, smoke curling like ghosts above the ashes. Reporters swarm the scene, cameras snapping, microphones thrust forward. On television screens across the state, the Roberts brothers become instant legends. Some call them criminals, others hail them as heroes standing against a corrupt system. A weary farmer mutters on camera, "They did what we all wanted to do, but didn't have the courage." Meanwhile, the county sheriff declares them arsonists, vowing justice will be swift. In bars, their faces flash across the news. In kitchens, families argue, were they rebels or just desperate men with nothing left to lose? The brothers, now hidden, watch it all unfold. Tiago smirks. "Look at that, Marcos. We're famous." But Marcos doesn't smile. Fame was never the goal. Vengeance still waits. Dusk settles as the brothers ride along a back road, the stolen truck rattling with every bump. The quiet shatters when red and blue lights flare in the rear view. Sirens scream, engines roar. The hunt has begun. Tiago grips the wheel, panic in his voice. "They found us, Marcos!" Marcos loads the shotgun, his face carved in stone. "Then let them come!" The first patrol car lunges forward, trying to ram them off the road. A blast echoes, glass shatters, and the cruiser spins into the ditch. The others hesitate. These aren't farmers anymore. These are outlaws armed with nothing to lose. The chase cuts through the night like fire on dry grass. Dust clouds, screeching tires, the sound of rebellion in motion. When the brothers finally vanish into the darkness, the law knows one thing. The Roberts aren't running scared, they're fighting back. In a dim roadside bar, neon lights flicker over smoke-stained walls. The Roberts brothers sit in the corner, shadows cloaking their faces. Whispers ripple through the crowd. Everyone knows who they are. A woman in a sequined dress approaches, her eyes sharp, her smile dangerous. She's a dancer, used to reading men, and she sees more than just fugitives. "You don't realize it yet," she purrs, sliding into the booth, "but you're already legends, and legends, they're worth money." Tiago raises a brow, intrigued. "Money? For what?" "Interviews, headlines. The people want your story. Journalists will pay for it." Marcos leans back, skeptical, yet her words dig deep. Could infamy buy them time? Could their rebellion turn into profit? The brothers exchange a look, not of agreement, but of dangerous curiosity. The seed of temptation is planted. The next morning, a cramped motel room transforms into a stage. Cameras, lights, and a reporter with a predatory smile fill the space. Marcos sits stiff, Tiago restless at his side. The journalist wastes no time. "Your father's farm once hosted foreign dignitaries. It was a symbol of pride. Now, it's ashes. Do you think he'd be proud of you, or ashamed?" Marcos clenches his fists, fire in his eyes. "Proud? He'd know we didn't surrender. He'd know we fought back when the system tried to bury us alive." The reporter presses harder, bringing up debts, failures, the price of corn, numbers meant to humiliate. But Marcos bites back with raw truth. For decades we broke our backs. Prices fell, costs rose, and the banks bled us dry. And now you show up, not when we worked, but only when we've fallen. The room crackles with tension. The brothers aren't just fugitives anymore. They're the voice of every farmer broken by a system that never cared. After the interview, silence hangs heavy in the motel room. Tiago flips through the channels, watching their faces plastered across every news station. Some call them martyrs, others terrorists. Marcos stands by the window, staring at the neon glow of a nearby bank sign. His reflection stares back, hollow-eyed, unyielding. They stole our land, our name, everything our father built, and now they profit from our shame. Tiago shakes his head. What are you thinking? Marcos turns, his voice low, steady, final. I'm thinking it's time we stop burning what's ours and start taking what's theirs. The weight of his words settles between them. Tiago hesitates, torn between survival and loyalty. But Marcos has already crossed the line. Vengeance is no longer an idea. It's a plan. The morning sun glares down on Independence Bank, its marble facade standing like a fortress of greed. Inside, clerks shuffle papers, unaware of the storm about to break. The doors slam open. Marcos and Tiago stride in, faces hard, shotguns raised. Panic erupts. Screams. Papers scattering like frightened birds. Hands up! Against the wall! Marcos commands, his voice echoing through the lobby. He locks eyes with Tomas, the manager who signed their death sentence. Remember me? Tomas stammers, fear draining the color from his face. Marcos tosses him a bag. Fill it, every last cent. Tiago's breathing grows heavier, doubt creeping in as he sees the terrified faces of the hostages. But Marcos is consumed. For him, this isn't robbery. This is justice. Swift, merciless, and personal. Outside, sirens grow louder. Time is running out. Inside, vengeance is in full bloom. The lobby vibrates with tension. Marcos stands tall, rage fueling every command while Tiago lingers near the doors, his hands trembling on the shotgun. Marcos, this isn't us, Tiago hisses. We're not killers, we're farmers. Marcos glares at him, veins bulging in his neck. Farmers don't get justice, Tiago, outlaws do. The crowd of hostages watches, terror in their eyes. One child clings to his mother, and Tiago falters. He lowers his weapon. I'm done, I won't do this. Marcos storms toward him, grabbing his collar. You swore, brother. You swore we'd never bow again. Tiago shakes his head, tears welling. Not like this. Not in blood. For the first time, the pact fractures. One brother is chained to vengeance, the other to the last fragile thread of conscience. And in that divide, the Roberts legacy begins to tear apart. The brothers burst from the bank's doors, bags of cash dragging at their shoulders. Sirens blare, tires screech, but the crowd outside doesn't scatter, it gathers. Farmers, townsfolk, even strangers line the sidewalks, their faces lit with something unexpected. Admiration. Some cheer, some clap. Others raise fists in solidarity. To them, the Roberts aren't criminals. They're folk heroes striking back at the machine that crushed them all. Tiago looks around in disbelief, his heart torn between guilt and pride. They're cheering for us. Marcos, jaw set, doesn't slow down. Let them cheer. It changes nothing. Police barricades loom ahead, but the applause follows them, echoing louder than the sirens. In that moment, the Roberts brothers aren't just fugitives. They are symbols, and symbols are far harder to kill. Night falls in the hideout, an abandoned farmhouse, walls cracked, windows broken. Outside, the sound of crickets hides the silence between the brothers. Tiago sits with his head in his hands. We can't keep running, Marcos. Every step we take, the noose tightens. Marcos paces the room, restless, eyes burning. Do you hear them out there? The people are with us. They cheered when we took what was ours. Tiago snaps, his voice breaking. They cheered, yes, but cheers don't stop bullets. And they won't save us when this ends. Marcos slams his fist against the wall, splintering wood. Better to die a legend than live forgotten. For the first time, Tiago sees the cost of glory carved into his brother's face. Not pride, not victory, but obsession. The applause of strangers has chained Marcos tighter than any set of handcuffs ever could. Dawn creeps through the broken shutters, painting the room in pale gray. Marcos loads his rifle with mechanical precision, every movement fueled by grim purpose. Tiago watches, exhausted, his voice trembling. "We don't have to end like this, brother. We can still walk away." But Marcos doesn't hear him, or refuses to. Outside, engines growl, tires crunch gravel. The sheriff's voice booms through a megaphone. "Roberts brothers, the farm is surrounded. Lay down your weapons." Tiago's breath catches. He looks at Marcos, pleading, "Please, don't make me bury you too." Marcos grips his rifle tighter, eyes blazing with defiance. "I'd rather fall standing than live on my knees." Gunfire erupts, windows shatter. The house trembles under the storm of bullets. In the chaos, the brothers are torn apart, one fighting like a man possessed, the other pulled down by the crushing weight of surrender. The legend of the Roberts brothers is about to reach its breaking point. Smoke fills the air, gunfire echoing like thunder. Marcos fights his way through the chaos, each shot fueled by rage, by pride, by the promise he once made never to bow. But his body betrays him, wounds slow his steps, blood stains his shirt. Tiago crawls through the rubble, coughing, his eyes locking on his brother. "Marcos, stop, it's over." Marcos stumbles, defiant to the last breath. He glares through the haze at the police outside. "You can take my land, my life, but you'll never take my fight." A final volley erupts. The room falls silent. Marcos collapses, the rifle slipping from his grasp, his eyes fixed on nothing. A man consumed by vengeance, swallowed by the very fire he lit. Tiago weeps, torn between grief and relief. In the aftermath, newspapers call it the Acerto Final. Some brand Marcos a criminal, others a martyr. But for Tiago, he will always be just a brother, one who couldn't escape the weight of a broken dream. If you made it this far, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Your support helps us bring more powerful stories of justice, vengeance, and redemption straight to you.